Welcome to Movies in the Making, everyone! If you would like to hear about how films were done behind the scenes, please like down below and subscribe to this channel for more videos, including what films you think should be talked about by this channel. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 1980 superhero action film Superman 2, released by Warner Bros. And directed by Richard Lester. Here, we will dive deep into the story of the production of this film. We mentioned in the last episode that Richard Lester replaced Richard Donner for this sequel, but here, we will now expand upon that by detailing how much this impacted the entire production. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. You are all in for a super duper ride once again. During the making of Superman, Warner Bros. 1978, producers Alexander and Ilya Salkind made the unusual decision to shoot both the first film and its sequel, Superman 2, at the same time. Director Richard Donner, fresh off the success of The Omen, 20th Century Studios, 1976, was hired to helm the project, and production on the sequel was already well underway with creative tensions erupted between Donner and the Salkinds, along with producer Pierce Spengler. These disagreements led the Salkinds to bring in director Richard Lester as a mediator. When it became clear that the first Superman film needed to be completed and released on time, filming on Superman 2 was paused, with the understanding that they would return to finish it afterward. Despite the success of Superman, the conflict never resolved and Donner was ultimately fired. Lester, initially brought in as a go-in-between, was given full control to finish the sequel. Donner seemed poised to continue with Superman 2, much of which he had already filmed during the original production. However, tensions with producer Spengler came to a head when Donner told the press he would not return for the sequel if Spengler remained involved. This public ultimatum angered the Salkinds, especially Ilya, whose long-standing friendship with Spengler and strained relationship with Donner influenced the decision. Citing emotional reasons, the Salkinds chose Spengler over Donner. In March 1979, Donner was officially fired from Superman 2 via telegram, and Lester was hired to complete the film. Lester did not just complete the remaining 25% of the film, he reshot large sections, altering the tone, style, and script significantly. Gene Hackman, loyal to Donner, refused to return for reshoots or post-production audio, resulting in inconsistent performances and the use of voice doubles. Other key contributors, including writer Tom Mankiewicz and editor Stuart Baird, also walked away. Marlon Brando's footage was cut due to a legal dispute over royalties, and composer John Williams was replaced with Ken Thorne, whose limited budget and smaller orchestra led to a weaker version of the original score. The result was a film with jarring tonal shifts, continuity issues, and obviously different appearances of its lead actors, Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, who had changed between the original and reshot scenes. Lester's preference for slapstick humor clashed with the epic tone Donner had established, leaving Superman 2 a mixed bag. Financially successful but creatively divisive and riddled with behind-the-scenes fallout that would echo throughout the rest of the franchise. When Lester took over directing Superman 2 after Donner was dismissed, he made a number of changes that altered the tone and presentation of scenes already shot by Donner. One such example is the scene set at the Daily Planet, where Perry White and Jimmy Olsen expressed concern over Superman's sudden disappearance. Originally filmed by Donner in 1977, the scene included character-driven moments that gave the film emotional weight and humor. However, Lester chose to partially reshoot it in 1979, rebuilding the set and adding new footage. Since Gene Hackman, the actor who portrayed Lex Luthor, refused to return for reshoots, the final cut became a mixture of both directors' material, leading to inconsistencies, most notably changes in Lois Lane's hairstyle that visually betrayed the film's patchwork construction. Lester's changes were often more cosmetic than substantial, adding lines or reactions that slightly altered the rhythm or mood but did not significantly change the plot. In his reshot version, Superman delivers a new line, "Would you care to step outside?" that mirrors an earlier scene, replacing Donner's original, "Haven't you ever heard of freedom of the press?" Other small differences include dialogue trimmed or replaced, such as Jimmy Olsen's humorous exchanges or Luthor lines voiced by a stand-in due to Hackman's absence. These tweaks, while perhaps intended to bring a lighter, more comedic sensibility to the film, introduced minor continuity errors and diminished some of the character-driven charm Donner had established. Despite the effort and expense involved in Lester's reshoots, many of the changes were relatively superficial and did not greatly affect the story's core. Fans familiar with both the theatrical version and the later released Donner cut can spot differences such as added background characters or deleted humorous moments, like Jimmy snapping photos of Non. Ultimately, while Lester may have sought to imprint his style on the film, the result was a patchwork that, though functional, lacked the consistent vision Donner had originally set out to achieve. The reshoots may not have drastically weakened the film, but they arguably add more clutter than clarity. Terence Stamp was ultimately cast as General Zod during the original production of Superman 2, under Donner, who would film much of the sequel alongside Superman. Though Donner initially doubted that Stamp would be interested in playing a comic book villain, a personal connection helped change his mind. They discovered a shared interest in transcendental meditation, which broke the ice. Donner then improvised a compelling backstory for Zod on the spot, presenting the role as a unique challenge. Intrigued by the opportunity to take on something different, Stamp agreed to join the project, bringing a commanding presence to the character. However, the film's production was later disrupted when Donner was unexpectedly fired and replaced by Lester, a move that disappointed Stamp. Though he respected Lester's skills, Stamp felt that finishing the film without Donner diminished the integrity of the work, and he was initially reluctant to return. He came back after Reeve rejoined the project, admitting that being out of work for years left him little choice if he wanted to stay in the industry's good graces. Stamp was also disheartened by the removal of Marlon Brando scenes due to a financial dispute, viewing the replacements as a loss for the film. During the filming, tensions among the cast flared, notably between Jack O'Halloran, who played the Kryptonian enforcer Non, and Reeve. O'Halloran, a former boxer, confronted Reeve over his on-set attitude, leading to a heated altercation where O'Halloran pinned Reeve against the wall until Donner intervened to prevent a fight. Years later, O'Halloran described Reeve as a bit of an ass, who was overly influenced by his own fame, though he later praised Reeve's character as it evolved. Co-star Sarah Douglas supported O'Halloran's account, recalling how the pressures of filming and numerous injuries wore down the cast, causing Reeves' once innocent demeanor to shift into something less understanding by the end of the production. Superman 2 was filmed across a diverse range of locations spanning several countries. On-location shoots took place in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, as well as Niagara Falls in both Ontario, Canada, and New York City, USA. The film also featured scenes shot in Norway and Paris, France, adding international variety to its settings. Within England, various outdoor locations such as Chobham Common in Surrey and Black Park Country Park in Slough were used, with some staying for rural American towns or key story locations like where the Kryptonian villains arrive on Earth. Much of the film's studio work was done at Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, England, where multiple sound stages and facilities like the Albert R. Broccoli 007 stage, F stage, and A stage were used. These stages hosted sets ranging from the Arctic ice floe to the Fortress of Solitude exterior to interior scenes like NASA control rooms and the Eiffel Tower flying sequences. Additionally, the London Underground was used to depict a metropolis subway, while other scenes were shot around Greater London and various parts of Buckinghamshire, showing the film's blend of practical locations and controlled studio environments. The flying scenes posed significant challenges for the actors playing the Kryptonian villains. While Reeve had grown accustomed to his flying harness, Stamp, O'Halloran, and Douglas faced far greater difficulties with their rigs. Douglas suffered a shoulder injury from the wire work that caused lasting issues, and O'Halloran ruptured a disc in his back, eventually requiring surgery. Though he later pushed for and secured improved harness and safety mats, injuries had already occurred. Meanwhile, Stamp remained constantly fearful that the wire suspending him might snap. The emotional farewell scene between Clark Kent and Lois Lane in Superman 2 feels deeply authentic, largely due to Margot Kidder's real-life struggles at the time, including the breakdown of her marriage to actor John Hurd. In the scene, Lois expresses profound anguish over losing the chance for an honest relationship with Clark, who then gives her a magical kiss to erase her memories of his secret identity. Lester admitted to deliberately drawing on Kidder's genuine emotional pain to enhance her performance, calling it a rare and somewhat manipulative moment that resulted in a truly moving and believable portrayal. When Lester was brought in to finish Superman 2, composer John Williams, who had scored the first Superman film, was replaced by Lester's frequent collaborator, Ken Thorne. Thorne was tasked primarily with adapting Williams' original themes and motives rather than creating a fully new score, maintaining musical continuity for characters like Lex Luthor and General Zod. Due to budget constraints and the rushed schedule caused by Donner's departure, Thorne had only 6 weeks to complete the score, which was recorded by contract musicians at Wembley's CCS Studios rather than the London Symphony Orchestra. Lester also directed Thorne to create a sound-alike version of Average White Band's Pick Up the Pieces, which ended up featured as source music in the film. Thorne then returned for the next sequel, Superman 3, Warner Bros. 1983, where he was given more creative freedom to compose a zanier or comedic score to match Lester's lighter approach, while still incorporating Williams' iconic fanfare. The film was completed amid many tensions among its cast and crew, including conflicts between directors, producers, and actors, which made organizing a promotional tour challenging. Warner Bros. Worried that key stars like Kidder and Reeve might criticize the film's troubled production during interviews, so they chose only one actor to handle the extensive 9-month global promotional tour, Douglas, who played the Kryptonian villain Ursa. Douglas believes she was selected partly because she was not involved in the on-set conflicts socializing with the American cast, and she recalled the studio putting her through rigorous tests to prepare her for the demanding international press appearances. As of the 6th of July, 2025, Superman 2 is an 88% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, an 83 out of 100 critic score on Metacritic, a 6.8 rating on IMDb, and a 3.3 rating on Letterboxd. The film's budget was $54 million and it grossed about $216 million following its initial release on 4th December 1980. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Superman 2. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all things movies in the making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Superman 2, or if you have any theories for a film we did not touch upon, or what films you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films will be talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday. Or Saturday, we forget to post on Friday. Thanks for watching, we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making, where we'll be talking about The Piano, Miramax 1993, and more films to follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making, with discover stories by some of those unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.